Good morning, everyone. We're going to start the meeting. We're going to start by doing a roll call vote to make sure that we have quorum. Governor Bell,
Here.
Governor Adwale,
Here.
Governor Angelville,
Here.
Governor Boyd,
Here.
Governor Clark,
Here.
Governor Couch,
Here.
Governor Dresden,
Here.
Governor Higginson,
Present.
Governor McBride,
Here.
Governor Peterson,
Yes.
Governor Pertzer,
Here.
Governor Siani,
Present.
Governor Stevens,
Here.
Governor Williams-Ruth.
Here.
We have quorum and we have perfect attendance too. Fantastic. Well, welcome everybody. First up on our agenda is a presentation and discussion of next steps regarding the Minority Bar Association proposal to the Board of Governors. We have Michelle Su from the Korean American Bar Association, and we have Governor Brent Williams-Ruth. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning. Hello, everyone. My name is Michelle Su, and I am the Diversity Outreach Chair of the Korean American Bar Association of Washington, or KABA for short. I'm here today virtually to present on the diversity, equity, and inclusion proposal of the local minority bar associations. Thank you to the WSBA for making time in your busy agenda to explore this proposal together and optimistically begin taking decisive action today. First, I want to highlight our mutual values and position in approaching this proposal. It is an unfortunate reality that diversity work has become so polarizing and politicized such that in some cases it can create a barrier. So I'd like for us all to just take a step back and recognize some mutual common ground. First, no one is perfect. We are all human and we make mistakes. This is an obvious fact. Second, by virtue of the fact that we are not perfect, there is always room for improvement. No matter that the people are amazing, or the organization is reputable, or the policies are comprehensive, there is always room for even a little bit of improvement. Third and last, as leaders, we have both the privilege and obligation to use our power in public service to our community. As leaders, we strive to serve our community by constantly challenging ourselves to improve our character, improve our methods, improve our institutions, and ultimately improve our public service. I hope this last point resonates with each and every one of you, and it should. At this time, I want to take a moment to recognize each and every governor, past and present, here today. Thank you for your service. I know it can feel like a thankless job, and you may not receive as much recognition or appreciation that you so deserve for all your hard work. In the past 2 years, I've learned more about the WSBA. And mind you, I've barely scratched the surface. There's so much to learn. I've also learned so much about the board. I understand, on average, you commit roughly 500 hours per year for board service, all voluntarily and unpaid. It's a part-time job, in addition to being a full-time attorney, which, let's be real, can be like 2 jobs at times. And for some of you, you wear additional hats, such as parenting during the pandemic. Just in hours alone, you have shown up immensely in public service. Thank you. Recognizing how much each and every one of you cares about our community, I sincerely hope the board in turn recognizes the heart of this proposal, how the board can further improve and achieve its goals in diversity and in service to our community. You became governors because you want to lead on the improvements for our community. In fact, and for everyone's benefit, I would like to read the WSBA's mission statement and commitment to diversity. The Washington State Bar Association's mission is to serve the public and the members of the bar, ensure the integrity of the legal profession, and to champion justice. In addition, the Washington State Bar Association is committed to advancing diversity and inclusion within the legal profession. The WSBA recognizes the need to enhance opportunity in the legal profession and the public's experience with lawyers by demonstrating to its members and the public at large a genuine commitment to supporting and advancing diversity and inclusion. This proposal is a roadmap of improvements directly aligned with the WSBA's mission and commitment on diversity and inclusion. I will now go over the key points of the proposal and provide additional context beyond what has been provided formally. Excuse me. First, we urge the board to vote and approve implementation of decision-making tools to ensure a diverse and inclusive lens at the decision table. This proposal is intended to address real inefficiencies and blind spots that we have experienced personally with the board. The provided example in the proposal covered the board's recent resolution on the bar exam, at which time many MBAs issued statements of concern as to the premature and disparate impact of the board's decision. By implementing this proposal, by having clear guidelines and requirements for diversity and inclusion analysis at the decision table, the board will ensure it is taking into consideration the impact of its decision on our entire community. I note this component of the proposal is not to say the board does not already consider a diversity lens. Rather, this proposal is intended to take the guesswork out of the equation by having required discussion and analysis. The public is assured with confidence the board is indeed properly considering its interests. Second, we encourage the board to vote and approve implementation of diversity and inclusion competencies, both in the pipeline to leadership and at the leadership level. One suggestion is a mandatory training, which I know has been a sensitive issue for some. Respectfully, as governors, you are in positions of power. You cannot afford to be lax on trainings intended to confront the biases we all have. Law firms and employers in our community already recognize how critical diversity trainings are to the health and well-being of its community. The same reasoning applies to the Board of Governors. In addition, candidates to leadership should demonstrate their values complement the WSBA's mission and commitments. To ensure the WSBA can continue its, and I quote, genuine commitment to supporting and advancing diversity and inclusion, end quote, it needs to ensure future leadership is on the same page. This is in line with the WSBA's diversity and inclusion plan as well, which notes to provide tools, systems, and evaluations for intentional recruitment of diverse faculty and leadership in collaboration with the minority bar associations. Third, we respectfully demand the board move to resolve its lack of accountability measures for board misconduct. As of now, if a governor engages in questionable conduct, there is no remedy and there's no restorative process available. We have been through this already. On a personal though relevant note, I've actually been encouraged to run many times for governor. Obviously, I have not done so for multiple reasons. One being the board is not a safe space. That is an actual reason and deterrent for why I am not personally interested in a governor role at this time. Being a woman, I practically never feel space in a lot of spaces. Sorry, I should have said, I don't feel safe in a lot of spaces. And my experiences have proven this fear justified. With the pandemic, my level of fear and anxiety in public, by virtue of being an Asian woman, has reached new heights. While being subject to vitriolic hate just for walking down the street is nothing in comparison to what others experience because of their identity, I determined it would be foolish of me, already feeling unsafe in so many ways, to then voluntarily join a space and give of my time and my energy and my emotional labor in an environment that is by default unsafe. Without any accountability measures, the board is like a car without airbags. You may be the world's safest drivers, just as you may be amazing people. It does not change a defective car, and it does not change the board does not have accountability protocol in place. Lastly, the MBAs are here. We are invested in serving our community together. This is the first step to reach and express commitment with the board. For the transactional attorneys out there, this is our term sheet. The next step is to figure out the fine details together. So my last ask of the board is to focus on the overarching intent and request of this proposal. Please do not get bogged down by the details or the lack thereof. This proposal is open-ended intentionally because each component deserves a deliberative and thoughtful approach, and we can't achieve that all in one sitting. In parting, I note for many of us, engaging with the Wsba in an intentional and continuous relationship is new. And like any new relationships, there may be some awkwardness, there may be some stumbles here and there. That said, I am really optimistic we'll find our groove together. Let us continue to collaborate on diversity and inclusion. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody have any questions for Michelle Su? Governor Angeville.
Yeah, sorry. Oh, okay, I'm good now. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. And thank you, Ms. Su, so much for taking your time to come here today and for the very carefully thought out intentional proposal that you're bringing to us. On behalf of the Diversity Committee, we really are committed to working with MBAs and working together to solve some of the challenges and problems, frankly, that have plagued this board with respect to a commitment to DEI. So I just want to thank you for doing what you're doing and know that you have some support and that I'm very excited about working to alleviate the problem.
Thank you so much. And thank you to the Diversity Committee for issuing its memo in support of this proposal as well.
Any other questions for? We've got Amy Klosterman. And by the way, if you're on the Zoom, if you could raise your hand virtually, sometimes I don't see the hands.
Thank you for seeing my hand. I'm Amy Klosterman, president of the Mother Attorneys Mentoring Association of Seattle, and I represent our 500 plus members and as well one of the 11 minority bar associations that signed on to the proposal that Ms. Su drafted. Thank you so much, Ms. Su, for sharing the proposal and also your extremely powerful personal story. We all have to pay great attention when someone tells us that a place such as the Board of Governors of our state bar is not a safe space for them. This is hugely important. And we need to ensure as a legal community as a whole, as the Board of Governors and just me as, I don't have any power over the Board of Governors, but collectively we do have this power to make sure that the Board of Governors is a safe place and that it does take into account the things that are mentioned in this proposal. So my organization supports this along with all of the 11 organizations that signed on to this. And we really want to make sure that the Board of Governors understands this is a huge portion of, active attorneys who are active in our legal community that are represented in signing on to this proposal. So thank you very much for considering it. And thank you so much, Ms. Sue.
Any other folks have questions for Michelle Sue? Oh, we have, hello there, Nancy Hawkins, and then Jordan Couch next.
Thank you. Ms. Sue, my name is Nancy Hawkins. I'm with the Family Law Section Executive Committee. And I wondered if, because I enjoyed your presentation very much and your materials in the working papers, have you thought about how your approach and your ideas might fit within the entities of the bar associations, such as the various subject sections?
The focus of the proposal really derived at the board level because the proposal came around from various experiences we've had from a minority bar association standpoint over the last 2 years, and recognizing perhaps because we're not in the weeds, so to speak, recognizing some of the areas for improvement to really just help empower the commitment of the board of governors towards this diversity and equity and inclusion initiatives. And so I do think, though, that absolutely a lot of the considerations and overarching theme applies as a trickle effect to the various branches of the Wsba, including, for example, those sections.
Thank you.
Governor Couch.
Thank you so much for the presentation today. It was really helpful to kind of hear the more details on this, and I really appreciate that. As I'm trying to translate this in my head into votes, I'm curious how the MBAs would like, or if the MBAs have specific thoughts on how they'd like things to proceed. We have the diversity committee, which may become a council. I know the MBAs work with them as well, but I recognize that there is more that needs to be done. And I'm curious if the MBAs look at this as they'd like, some specific action from the diversity committee brought to the board, or if they'd really like to see something more along the lines of a full board engagement or a different board engagement with this than that traditional process, sort of like we've done for Ethos, where instead of having a task force, we had the entire board work on something. Is that something the MBAs have talked about, or you personally have opinions on?
So the DI proposal intentionally implemented flexibility in mind, because we recognize that setting forth specific rigid procedures is probably not going to be feasible in practice. And so a lot of in each component, the first step really is engage with the diversity committee, take those next steps to fully think out how are we going to implement this. But as a first step, rather than diving straight head into the details now, the first step, I think, is to make sure the Board of Governors is on the same page in making those moves, in saying, yes, we do want a decision-making toolkit. We want to make sure we actually do consider DEI issues at every single decision. We do want to consider a diversity competency program, both at the leadership level and in the pipeline for our candidates. At least making that first step in saying, yes, we're going to do these things. What that actually looks like should be explored further as the next step. I really wanted to avoid a barrier to any step forward because there's confusion or there's back and forth on the details. That would be 10 steps ahead. Right now, the ask is for the Board of Governors, approve moving forward with putting together a DEI toolkit in your decisions. Approve moving forward in putting together a competency program, both at the leadership level and then also in terms of criteria for candidates. Approve moving forward with putting together a accountability protocol. What that looks like in each category is a conversation for another day. Right now, I think it's important for the Board of Governors to first indicate and vote that they're going to take those steps.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions for Michelle Sue?
I have a comment, Mr. President.
Former President, former Governor Majumdar.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Board of Governors. I am here as a member of the Bar Association. I happen to be a member of a voluntary bar QLaw and member of a voluntary bar of the South Asian Bar Association. I happen to be a member of a number of sections. I happen to know many of you, but I'm here just speaking as a member. And I want to thank Michelle Sue for her very powerful presentation. And she's been very kind in her presentation, which I very much appreciate the civility and kindness of it. But she did mention this is a result of a number of experiences with this body, the Board of Governors. And it's because, and they're bringing us a policy. Why are they bringing us, you, a drafted policy? They wrote us a letter. We didn't adequately respond to that letter. They met with us. We didn't adequately respond to that meeting. They met with us again. The Wsba didn't adequately respond to this meeting. We should have been the ones to take up the work of aggressively creating this policy to respond to their concerns. They've done the work, which I am deeply appreciative for starting the conversation. And it is amazing. But there's something I've noticed, and that is so many of our staff are members of minority bar associations. So many of our volunteers in the sections that I meet are members of minority bar associations. Members of this body are members of minority bar associations. And when I was a young lawyer, when I first got into the profession, before I even got my bar number, my first interaction with the profession was with minority bar associations. Anyone who's a member of a minority bar association is someone who's not just a lawyer, not just a member of this organization as a member, but they've taken the time out of their lives to join another volunteer organization to advance the profession of law. And that's why so many of our active volunteers and members of this organization and our staff members and members out there who are just engaged with the public are members of minority bar associations. These groups represent some of the lawyers that are most engaged and interested in the advancement of our profession, the betterment of our profession. The reason I mention that is because Michelle said something else. She wouldn't want to volunteer for this body because she doesn't find it's a safe space. We just had a discussion yesterday about how volunteerism is dropping off. That is a serious problem, and this is part of that problem. If our most engaged, a lot of our most engaged members are finding this place not a good place to engage with because we're not moving and you the concerns as our profession gets more diverse, and we need to make it a place where people feel welcome to come and volunteer and give their talents. Not used to saying you cannot, it sounds very harsh too. You cannot drop this ball. You need to move it forward. You can't have this presentation, form a committee in the background. I mean, when we need to form a committee, but form a committee in the background and forget about it, each and every one of you individually, and not think about it. And all of us as members should probably be inputting on it as well. But there need to be milestones, and you need to come up with an end product, and we need to do something as an organization because we need volunteers. We need engaged volunteers, just like Michelle Sue, to serve on bodies like this. And I thank all of you for your service, and I know collectively you can do this, and I appreciate that greatly. Thank you very much.
I see Governor Williams-Ruth has got his virtual hand up.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, former President Majumdar, because you've teed up exactly where we are going to go next, which is if you look in the late materials at page 12, there is the proposal for a ad hoc task force with myself, Governor Angeville, Governor Ottawale, and 4 members of the Minority Bar Association leadership who signed on to Ms. Sue's letter, including Ms. Sue herself, that are going to do exactly what was just proposed to create, and hopefully with a dynamic group of 8, we're trying to schedule right now to have proposals back to this BOG by the July meeting to do exactly that, to bring proposals that will have actual, the goal of the task force is to create the motions on each one of these proposals that we will then be able to deliberate, discuss, amend at the time or whatever, and take action. Because the work has been laid out in front of us. It's an amazing policy letter that requires the action. And so by the way, all 8 of the people who are in the task force have all agreed prior to today's meeting to serve for this purpose. And so I will respectfully move that the task force, the ad hoc task force to address this policy letter, be approved by this board so they can get to work and come back with other actionable items.
I second that motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to create the task force that's been outlined by Governor Williams-Ruth, and it's in your late materials. Hopefully you've had a chance to review it. Any discussion? I see a hand up, says BOG member. Oh, Governor Clark, President-elect Clark.
I thank you so much. Yeah, I just would say, please don't, rush this. I mean, it makes sense, but I just don't want you to rush the that stuff. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor-elect Clark. And then we got Governor Stevens, followed by Governor Abell.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to. Hold on. What I was trying to say is I'd like to actually go after Governor Abell.
Oh, okay. Governor Abell.
All right, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Governor Stevens. I do want to thank Ms. Sue for speaking to us today. This was a very helpful presentation. I want to thank specifically President Tollefson for the recommendations for the appointments to the MBA task force. These are fantastic recommendations. These individuals are leaders in our profession. In addition to the governors, we've got leaders from various MBAs. I've had the pleasure of working with at least one of them professionally in a prior case. I'm excited to see the product that this task force brings out if this is approved. Thank you, Mr. President.
Governor Stevens, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I want to thank Governor Williams-Ruth for putting together this task force. I just want to make the observation. Some of you may recall that in the summer of 2020, when we took up and, for example, formed the Equity and Disparity Work Group, I don't know if you recall me using the term George Floyd moment and Black Lives Matter also as a moment. I raise that because I do hope very much that the task force will do its work, but that the members of the board will not work very hard to change the subject. That has been my experience all of my professional life as it relates to issues regarding especially race, that as soon as we can, we like to change the subject, not have the conversation, have people opt out. And they do that for various reasons, but I look over the turmoil and the tumult from the summer of 2020, and I look today, and even with the letter from the Supreme Court, the only tangible thing that I have seen us, and I'm talking about not only the Board of Governors, but also just us as a nation, that's come out of that is a holiday. And we change the subject and we counterattack. And I would hope that we would in fact engage. So I will be very interested to see how we all respond to a number of these issues. Because while we have the medical pandemic, there is a sign that's along the street where I drive almost every, whenever I'm out to come to my house, there's a sign that says racism is a pandemic. And it is. It is the unaddressed pandemic. Some of us talk about diversity and talk about taking a broader approach. I ask that while that may be okay in some circumstances, it's also important to deal specifically with issues that come up, not explain them away, and not do whataboutism. So I appreciate, by the way, Ms. Sue and Ms. Klosterman and the others signing on. Please note, when we're talking about minority bar associations, they are not just limited by race, but they are minority parts of our whole, and parts of our whole that are here because of things that we don't do as well for the members that become a part of their organizations. So Governor Williams-Ruth, I commend you for putting this together. Ms. Sue, I commend you. And yes, I'm one of those people who tried to recruit you and will still try to recruit you to join this table, or at least try to. But I thank you all for this effort, and I appreciate the Minority Bar Association staying on task and basically saying to us, we need to stay on task. And what this proposal is about is not what everybody else ought to do, but what we as a Board of Governors in the policy table ought to do, not only in policies, but how we walk our talk and how we make our own commitments and keep our own commitments. And that's all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Governor Stevens. Governor Couch.
So I love this proposal, and especially the names on here. I've had the pleasure of working with Lionel Greaves and his team for my entire career. One question I had on this, though, is the letter from the Minority Bar Associations mentioned the work of the Diversity Committee throughout it a lot. And I was curious in the thought process, what led to the idea of creating a separate task force behind this rather than using the Diversity Committee? Because I'm curious if people saw something missing in the Diversity Committee that in their ability to address this, or was it just that this task force could do more? So I'd love to hear people's thoughts on that.
If I may.
Governor Williams-Ruth.
So it wasn't that there was anything wrong per se with the Diversity Committee. It was simply just pulling one of the chairs of the Diversity Committee, another person who has extensive background with ATJ issues, and that's Governor Adewale. And then we, as the governors, said, okay, of these 11 people who signed on this letter, who should we help bring in to get into the actual monkey work of throwing things around the room and seeing what we come up with? And that was where the four of us, or the three of us plus President Tolleson, identified our top four choices and then wanted to extend. And it simply became, we want there to be action. And because the Diversity Committee, once it's reconstituted as this council, has 18 people, that trying to coordinate 18 schedules and then do the work of asking people to, I mean, Governor Couch, you and I serve on another task force together that has 31 people, and trying to actually get the work done, the actual proposal of the objective is we're going to walk into the board meeting after the group has met and say, here is the initial motion, and then we will engage in the parliamentary process of taking action. And so that was all it was we identified, and with no disrespect to the other members of the signing of the letter, it just so happened that these 4 individuals were the ones that collectively Governor Adewale, Governor Angeville, and President Tollefson and I wanted to ask first in the hopes that they would say yes, but then we were going to go down with alternate choices to have, and you'll see that there are 3 governors, 1 ex officio president, and then 4 voting MBA representatives. And that was, again, done deliberately, so that way we are hearing the voices of the signers of the policy proposal to then bring back the intent of their motion. And then it'll be what it'll be by this deliberative body.
Very helpful. Thank you.
Governor Angeville.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I also want to speak to the role of diversity with respect to this. From my perspective, this proposal is very much about holding the entire board accountable. And that is something that the entire board needs to look at. So it isn't just the task of the diversity committee, because my understanding is we are looking at this as a sort of subset of the board as a whole. And I think that's a really critical piece, because frankly, diversity work is the work of the entire board. It shouldn't be relegated to just one committee. So I'm excited that this process is moving forward, and I think it's going to be a very positive thing for us as a board as a whole.
Any further discussion on the motion? I gotta take my glasses off so I can look at the screen. Governor Angeville, no further discussion. Did I miss anybody? Any hands up in the room? Okay, I think we're ready to vote. Okay, we're ready to vote. Governor Abell.
Aye.
Governor Adewale. Governor Angeville.
Aye.
Governor Boyd.
Aye.
Governor Clark.
Aye.
Governor Couch.
Aye.
Governor Dresden.
Aye.
Governor Higginson. Governor McBride.
Aye.
Governor Peterson.
Yes, please.
Governor Pertzer.
Aye.
Governor Sayani.
Aye.
Governor Stevens.
Aye.
Governor Williams-Ruth.
Aye.
I have 12 yeses, 2 not voting. Executive Director Nevitt and Council Shanklin, is that what you have?
I think so. Was it Governor Adewale and Governor Higginson that did not vote?
Correct.
Okay. Yes, that's what I have.
Okay, the motion carries. Thank you very much to Michelle Sue from the Korean American Bar Association, and to Governor Williams-Ruth for developing this whole idea. And I think it's a great idea, and I'm looking forward to working with everybody. Oh,
Thank you so much.
I'm sorry,
everyone.
we got another hand up. Amy Klosterman, did you have another comment?
I did not. I was virtually applauding. Thank you very much for approving this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.